3 spine-chilling true hidden camera incidents that expose sinister secrets and haunted lives. Every breathing soul in Jenna's once vibrant suburb knew the whispers of something wicked swarming through the shadows. A single mother at 36, Jenna clutched her son Tyler's hand as they walked past photos of better days, smiling neighbors caught in laughter, life spilling into the streets, a community that stood strong. Now, it was nothing but a crumbling memory, marred by foreclosures and sinister murmurs that echoed off the dilapidated houses. The darkness loomed closer every day. One late evening, after a long shift at the grocery store, Jenna finally settled into her couch with a weary sigh. Everything felt heavier since they moved into their worn home, with the suburbs encroaching on their sanity, daily reminders that they were alone in a place that used to buzz with laughter. As she glanced around, the glimmer of a hidden camera nestled in a decorative piece startled her. Her heart raced. Was it another prank from the neighbor known for his twisted humor? An unsettling feeling crawled up her spine. But curiosity gnawed at her. She replayed the footage, missing the sense of security she had always taken for granted. Her heart sank as she saw shadowy figures loitering outside their house, their voices whispering half-formed thoughts, blending into the night like phantoms. Masquerading behind masks resembling local town icons, these shadows hinted at a dark secret festering within their community, something twisted lurking beneath the surface of suburban life. Panic surged through her. She heard eerie laughter echo as the camera captured it all. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days rolled on, each one thick with tension. One night, a dog howled furiously at their porch, eyes glazed with terror, as if sensing something hiding just out of sight. Jenna felt the weight of unspoken judgments pressing down on her, the neighborhood funk that seeped into her bones. She noticed Tyler's friends didn't visit anymore. His mere presence seemed to draw a line between acceptance and abject fear. Each morning she found notes with scrawled warnings pinned to her door. Your son doesn't belong here. The words clawed at her heart, each one serving as a reminder that trust was fleeting, friendships mere facades. The lurking eyes in the darkness pierced her soul. And when pets began to vanish without a trace, Jenna found herself plagued by paranoia. It felt as if the friendly faces next door had morphed into silhouettes of menace. Their smiles betrayed secrets darker than gloom hovering over their lives. The local police remained indifferent, a web of mistrust surrounding them. The yearly block party transformed into something detached, painted in false camaraderie. Jenna discovered tales of a protective spirit that had once safeguarded the community, twisted by years of neglect and resentment into something monstrous. The malevolence thickened, choking her spirit, driving her to uncover the truth, whatever it might cost. Just as she pieced together haunting stories and unsettling folklore, she opened her front door only to be met with the chilling symbol etched into the wood. At the edge of her porch stood a neighbor, once friendly but now shrouded in shadows, silently casting her into the abyss of fear. Was this the dawn of realization or the beginning of her nightmare? As she locked eyes with the figure, dread flooded her mind, and the question loomed, were they the hunters or the hunted in this terrible masquerade? Jenna's breath hung in her throat, a silent scream ready to erupt as she took a hesitant step back. The figure just stood there, a silhouette against the night, obscured by the thick shadows crawling over the porch like tendrils of suffocation. Can I help you? She forced out, her voice barely rising above a whisper. The neighbor never moved, just tilted her head ever so slightly as if weighing her words, as if Jenna were a curious insect caught in a web. You need to leave, she finally said, her voice low and dripping with malice. This place doesn't want you, and it won't let you stay. Jenna felt the chill in her bones, every instinct yelling at her to slam the door shut, out the darkness creeping too close for comfort. But something about those words gripped her. This place doesn't want you. Was the neighborhood alive in its hostility? suffocating in its very rejection? Tyler, she thought of her son, sound asleep in the back room. For a flicker of a moment, doubt gnawed at her. Why was she putting them in danger? What if she was overreacting? Yet, the darkness whispered back, tugging at her heart like a grotesque puppet show. No! She finally shouted, a burst of newfound resolve. You can't dictate what I do. We're not going anywhere. The figure's eyes flashed. Then she spoke again, softer, as if somebody else had taken control of her voice. You have to decide. Find the truth or be consumed by the lies. And just like that, the neighbor stepped back into the dark with a yawning silence, leaving Jenna trembling in the doorway, haunted by the threat thick in the air. As she locked the door, she caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of her eye. It was Tyler, sleepily stumbling toward her, his small face twisted in concern. Mom? What's wrong? Jenna knelt beside him, willing her racing heart to calm. Nothing, sweetheart. Just some grown-up talk. But deep down she knew, the real conversation lay hidden behind masked grievances and fanged smiles. She had to protect Tyler. Later that night, after tucking him in, Jenna returned to the living room where it felt like the oppressive weight of the shadows bore down more than before. Her laptop blinked to life, and the hidden camera footage loomed at the forefront. She hesitated. The shadows had deepened since her last viewing. With shaky hands, Jenna clicked play. The grainy images blurred at first, but as the voices washed over her, confusion twisted quickly into dread. The figures outside her home were not just watching, they were whispering names. Her name. Jenna. Jenna, a shiver ran through her. Were they calling her or something else? Were they beckoning her, drawing her into the depths of their terrible secrets? Jenna's heart pounded against her chest, a wild rhythm signifying fear, panic, and a desperate need for understanding. Mom! Tyler's muffled voice broke through her focus, slashing the tension. Help! Jenna leaped to her feet, fear amplifying each step toward his room. The hallway grew darker as she approached, shadows gathering like smoke, and the air turned cold around her. She flung open the door, her eyes wide, but the bed was empty. The blankets lay neatly folded, emotions of fear caught in her throat. Tyler. Silence. Doom echoed in her mind, a realization creeping in that chilled her blood. Where was he? Had he walked out? Did he listen to the whispers too? The fear morphed into raw panic. She raced down the hallway, the walls feeling like they were closing in. Each doorway she passed felt like a challenge, each room held the potential to conceal a sinister fate. Outside, silhouettes moved just beyond her threshold, mocking her desperate search. Laughter floated on the air, twisted and dark, deepening her dread. The next door creaked open, and Jenna pressed on, the realization striking, the truth awaited her in the dark, but it might lead her to a revelation too terrible to bear. What secrets had she awakened? Jenna took a deep breath, her heart hammering in her chest. She was more determined now than ever to find Tyler. But what would she uncover in her quest? Just then, she heard a voice from outside, carrying through the night like an icy hand. Come join us, Jenna. She froze, the sound echoing in her ears. Was it a warning or an invitation? In that moment, Jenna faced a terrifying choice, teetering on the edge. Would she brave the darkness that shielded the truth, or retreat into ignorance to keep her son safe? As she lingered at the threshold, the shadows beckoned once more, and she wondered, was she ready to descend deeper into this nightmare? Jenna's heart raced, blood pounding in her ears as she stared out the door. The whispering figures hovered in the shadows beyond, their shapes distorted yet undeniably human. A chill swept over her, images of Tyler's empty bed flashing cruelly in her mind. Had he heard that voice too? Tyler! She screamed out again, but only silence answered her. It burrowed deep into her chest, a weight pressing down, thick with dread. She squinted into the darkness, the street lamp flickered like a dying heartbeat, casting flickers of blue light that danced unsettlingly across the porch. She instinctively stepped outside, drawn by an invisible thread, determined to locate her son. With each step she took, the shadows deepened, wrapping around her legs like icy tendrils. "Tyler! Where are you?" The air crackled as she called his name, but it only stirred the darkness, making it feel alive, mocking her desperate pleas. Suddenly, a loud crash behind her jolted Jenna. She whirled around, adrenaline igniting her instincts. A window in her home had shattered, sending glass shattering outward into the lawn like 1,000 tiny reflections of terror. "Mom! Help!" The sound was back, but this time muffled. It was near, so near. Her gut twisted. She dashed toward the house, heart racing. She burst through the door, scanning every corner, every darkened space. The air was heavy with tension, and the oppressive silence bore down like a vice. Her breath came in sharp gasps, feeling the weight of the shadows pressing against her. "Tyler!" She shrieked again, a frantic whisper now. Where were they coming from? An odd sound suddenly broke the stillness, like soft giggles, sinister and echoing. Jenna turned toward the back door, fear twisting her stomach. As she opened it, the laughter morphed into a cacophony of shrill cries, the sound wrapping around her like a noose. Outside, the figures emerged. Shadows etched in the outside light, playful and childlike, their forms grotesque imitations of her own son. "Mommy, come play." They squealed, their eyes glimmering like obsidian. Voices overlapping, layers of innocence corrupting into something horrific. Jenna stumbled back, her rear colliding with the doorframe. "Stay away from me!" she screeched, shaking her head in disbelief. They weren't Tyler, but reflections of something far more sinister. "Come join us," one of the figures crooned, inching closer, its smile splitting wide to reveal teeth that glinted like shards of glass. Jenna's instinct screamed danger. She turned to bolt back inside. She was met with a figure blocking the door, tall and menacing, shrouded in shadows deeper than night itself. Fear coursed through her veins as an empty laugh echoed all around, mingling with Tyler's name, drawing her further into the nightmare. Panic surged within her as she pushed past the figure, making a break for the living room. She had to find him. He had to be there. She grabbed her phone, the screen illuminating the terror around her. Swiping through the camera app, she clicked the hidden camera footage again, hoping for a clue, desperate to find something, anything. The grainy images flickered to life. There were Tyler's figures, framing a scene that made her blood run cold. In the shadows, they stood around a tiny makeshift circle drawn in chalk, the same one she'd seen in the backyard a few days earlier. Whispers filled the air, layered with echoes of her son's laughter, taunting her, drawing her closer to a truth that licked at her heels like fire. "Come and play with us, Mommy," they sang, disdain echoing in their voices as the camera captured them all dancing, circling around something obscured in the center of the chalk ring. Jenna's mind raced. She could feel their energy, the pull of their invitation. Did she dare step closer? The door rattled, the ominous laughter intensifying. Footsteps echoed behind her. "Mom!" A sliver of hope cut through her fear. Tyler's voice broke through the fog of horror surrounding her. As she turned, the room spun, shadows thickening, elongating, reaching for her. She steadied herself, heart hammering against her ribcage in wild beats. "Where are you, Tyler?" But then she caught sight of him just at the threshold, the door swinging slightly as he peered in through the crack. His eyes, wide and glistening, reflected the flicker of the lamp. "Tyler," she gasped, relief crashing over her in waves. She rushed forward, but then he stepped back, and a horrible realization clawed at her heart. He was no longer just her son, he was among them now. A part of the shadows. A smile stretched across his face, one that wasn't his. "Mommy, come play." Jenna stood frozen at the precipice, teetering between horror and the abyss. How much longer could she resist the pull of the darkness? Tyler, she whispered, the shadows swirling, hungry waiting to consume them both. The laughter crescendoed again, carrying a chilling promise. What had she awakened? And with it, was she about to lose everything? The darkness beckoned, and Jenna's heart raced anew. Would she be able to save her son before the shadows swallowed them whole? Jenna's breath hitched as she stood rooted to the spot, dread coiling tightly around her. The shadows seemed to dance, mocking at her confusion, while Tyler, her beloved son, stood in the doorway, his figure painted in hanging gloom. No, not Tyler. This thing wore his skin but carried none of his warmth. Come on, Mommy. It's fun here. The words flowed out like honey, but with a bitter undertone that turned her stomach. A horrid flicker danced in his eyes, something dark and insidious, tugging at the edges of her sanity. Tyler, I need you to tell me, she began, her voice trembling, but she felt the weight of the room shifting. The shrill laughter from outside grew louder, wrapping around her like a suffocating embrace. The rest of the figures were still visible through the back door, wide eyes fixed upon her, barbaric glee bubbling in sinister harmony. Why don't you come out and play with us? They called in unison, amplifying the dread that washed over Jenna in waves. Their words echoed like a twisted choir, and each phrase became a chain linking her to the growing darkness. She gripped her phone, heart racing in a frantic rhythm. Get away from him! She shouted, her voice barely more than a whisper. Tyler cocked his head, and that smile widened, stretching unnaturally, distorting everything that felt right about him. Mommy! Don't you want to be with us? Just a little closer. He took a step toward her, and suddenly, Jenna felt a strong urge to back away. The corners of her vision darkened, while the shadows pulsed, hungry and eager. A part of her wanted to scream, to retaliate, but another part felt strangely drawn to their allure. She fought the pull, digging her nails into her palms, willing herself to stay grounded in reality. Tyler, please, Jenna pleaded, reaching out as if grasping for a lifeline. This isn't you. With jerky movements, he extended his thin hand, fingers splayed wide. The laughter outside faltered, replaced by a breathing silence that vibrated between them, oppressive and thick. Jenna felt as if she were standing on the edge of an abyss, the darkness beckoning her with promises she couldn't comprehend. Suddenly, something shifted in Tyler's expression. The joyful glimmer faded, replaced by a haunting emptiness. Mommy, we need you. They want you. As he spoke, the shadows inched closer to her, whispering promises of forgotten joys, of familiar comfort wrapped within the chaos. The living room felt as if it were closing in, walls bending, stretching, until Jenna thought she might suffocate from the weight of despair pressing down upon her. A screech pierced the air. She spun around, the door smashing against the wall. One of the shadow figures, a patchwork of limbs and darkness, was trying to break in, its distorted form writhing against the threshold. Jenna's instincts kicked in. Fear blazing in her chest, she dove for the kitchen, urgency propelling her forward. The kitchen knife drawer was her only goal. She clawed at it, her fingers trembling as she wrestled to open it. They were right behind her, then, all around her, the sinister giggles echoing in her ears. Mommy! You can't escape! And there he stood, Tyler's doppelganger, his eyes glinting with malevolence while the darkness enveloped him, almost merging into one grotesque entity. Time froze as Jenna snapped her gaze to her phone, hoping for a glimpse of sanity in this nightmare. She hit play on the recording again, desperate for clarity. The screen flickered. The figures were dancing wildly, and at the center of the chalk circle, something dark pulsed, a shape that seemed to breathe. It wasn't just their laughter she heard. Faintly, she could make out low whispers, calling her name, drawing her into their embrace. Mommy, please, come join us. A rush of adrenaline surged through her. Jenna slammed the drawer shut, gripping the knife tightly. Get back! She screamed, pointing it at the encroaching darkness. As if stung, the shadow figures recoiled, their laughter faltering momentarily. But they quickly regrouped, fingers stretching toward her, beckoning. Mom! Please! Tyler cried, his voice jagged, lost amongst the insanity. Jenna's heart wavered. Would she dare step into the light, or was she destined to lose her son forever to the shadows? Her mind raced as she glanced back at the doorway, a flicker of hope glimmering within the dark turmoil. She couldn't let them win. Clenching the knife tightly, she felt the heavy air shift. "Run!" A voice echoed from the depths of her core. In that moment, she charged forward, the shadows clawing at her, the laughter rising into a maddening crescendo. What awaited her beyond the threshold of darkness? Flee or fight, she had to decide, and fast. As she leapt toward the looming figures, the shadows closed in around her with a vengeance. Could she sever the ties that bound her to the chaos, or was she too late to save Tyler and herself from the abyss? Jenna burst through the doorway, adrenaline coursing through her veins like fire. The knife felt heavy in her hand, a false promise of safety against the encroaching shadows. The garden looked warped, the grass shimmered like waves of darkness, and the laughter of the shadow figures was a haunting rhythmic chant that echoed in her ears. "Mommy, come play." Tyler's voice dripped with false affection, cutting through the chaos in a chorus of false hope. She twisted, glancing back only for a second, expecting to see the dark forms pursuing her. Instead, they stood still, their grins widening as if they savored the chase, feeding off her fear. "No, no, no!" she gasped, her heart thundering. She forced her legs to move, shifting toward the tree line that bordered their yard. The promise of trees and darkness felt more reassuring than the figures behind her. But as she sprinted, the ground shifted beneath her. Each step felt heavier, like invisible weights tugging at her limbs. She could hear the whispering of the shadows, insinuating themselves into her thoughts. "Stay with us, isn't this fun?" She shook her head violently, trying to clear her mind. The knife felt slippery now, beads of sweat trickling down her palm. "No. Focus." She had to find a way to escape, to save Tyler. A swift glance over her shoulder revealed the figures were moving. They glided inches above the ground, undulating with the rhythm of their laughter. Jenna had only moments. She approached the towering trees that loomed dark and foreboding, their branches twisted, gnarled like the hands of her nightmares. "Mommy." Tyler's voice had a haunting echo, layered with something else. It cracked like twisted wood. "Mommy, help." Her stomach twisted at the sound. That was not her son. The real Tyler was lost somewhere in there, trapped beneath layers of darkness. She had to cut through, she had to join us. They cried, the disembodied voices rising in unison, an invitation that tasted like bile on her tongue. "It's all okay here, free from fear." "Shut up." She screamed, launching herself toward the trees, hoping they would provide some sort of cover. As she ducked beneath their hanging branches, her foot caught on a root, and she stumbled, falling hard onto the ground. The world spun, and she gasped for air, choking on the damp earth. The laughter grew louder, vibrating through her body. They were closing in. Jenna scrambled to her feet, brushing off clumps of dirt and fear. She had to regain control, had to. A shadowy figure lunged at her, its arms distorting grotesquely. Jenna screamed, swinging the knife wildly. The blade cut through the air but met nothing. An echo of her fear loomed behind her, chuckling as it retreated. "Mommy, why do you want to hurt us?" Tyler's voice, now intertwined with the shadows, seeped deeper into her veins. "We just want you to be happy." That was it. Happiness. The word rolled around in her mind, sticky and deceitful as honey. Memories flickered through her fragmented consciousness: Tyler's laughter, the smell of fresh cookies, bedtime stories. Happy moments warped by darkness. Jenna tightened her grip on the knife, the handle like a lifeline in her palm. "No. I want you back," she shouted defiantly at the gathering gloom. "I want to let you take him." The shadows faded for a moment, confusion flashing across their twisted faces. But it was brief. They surged forward, and in that split second, Jenna's mind raced. Those whispers, "Join us, be one of us." The tree branches creaked ominously overhead. She felt them wrap around her thoughts, squeezing the essence of who she was. No, not like this. Then she felt it, a surge, a spark of clarity. She had to confront them. She dashed toward the heart of the trees, rushing deeper into the woods, her heart pounding. "I'll save you, Tyler. Just hold on." Branches snapped behind her as the figures moved fast. Would she find a way through this terror, or become a part of the shadows herself? Just then, the ground quaked beneath her, and something screamed from the depths of the darkness, a warning, or perhaps a promise. Jenna's breath hitched again, and this time, it was fear that rooted her in place. What lurked between those trees? Jenna felt the tremor course through her. The forest pulsed with an energy that was alive, as though the very earth was warning her to turn back. The air thickened, each breath tasted metallic, and she was acutely aware of the shadows closing in behind her. With a surge of desperation, she forged deeper into the darkness. The trees stood like ancient sentinels, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, grasping for the very essence of life she fought to protect. Each shadow flickered and darted at the corner of her vision, daring her to submit to the panic welling up inside her. "Tyler!" she shrieked, her voice cracking like dry branches underfoot. "I'm coming." The further she ran, the louder the whispers became, a maddening choir that echoed in her skull. Join us, they chanted in a seductive cadence, each syllable curling around her mind, trying to ensnare her. The haunting melody penetrated her defenses, making her question her resolve. Were they tempting her to give in? To stop fighting? Suddenly, she skidded to a halt. A thick fog had rolled in, swirling around her ankles and rising to obscure her view. The atmosphere felt heavy, suffocating. Shadows twisted in the vapor, ready to swallow her whole. She strained her ears, listening for Tyler's voice beneath the cacophony of taunts. "Mommy, I'm scared." The real Tyler's voice broke through the fog, raw and genuine. The sound sent a jolt of hope through her, but it was quickly smothered by fear. "Where are you?" she cried out, eyes darting around wildly. The fog began to shift, revealing dim silhouettes that twisted in the haze, dancing mockingly. Each figure held a knife, gleaming under the pale moonlight that struggled to pierce the heavy shroud of mist. "No! No!" Jenna gasped, clutching the knife tighter, a fitting relic of courage. As Jenna's breath quickened, the world around her began to move. Trees shifted, the ground trembled, and she felt an inexorable pull toward the heart of the fog. The whispers crescendoed, rising into a frenzied pitch. "You can't save him. Join us." Jenna squeezed her eyes shut, shaking her head as visions of the shadows wrapped tightly around her son filled her mind. The treachery of the night seeped into her bones, trying to infect her spirit. She drew in a deep breath, the air filtered with decay and the relentless scent of dirt. "I want to let you take him," she shouted, fury lacing her voice as she forced herself to move forward. With each step, the fog thickened, drowning out the visions of Tyler. Her resolve flickered like a candle in the dark. But determination steeled her heart. She had to break through, had to push further into the shadows. Jenna navigated deeper into the fog, chasing the echoes of her son. Just then, a chilling laugh floated from the depths of the fog, resonating through her body. "You're too late, Jenna. He belongs to us now." Her heart dropped. The laughter twisted and morphed into grating shrieks that reverberated through the trees, sending shivers cascading down her spine. Jenna stumbled, the ground slick with something foul beneath her feet. "Tyler!" she yelled, voice warping into a cacophony of desperation. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes emerged from the mist ahead, piercing through the obscurity. She fixed on them, her heart raced, a glimmer of hope, or an ominous omen. In that moment, she realized, the forest wasn't just a wild maze, it was alive, a monstrous entity that craved despair, that fed on her fear. Whatever she encountered here couldn't be trusted. She reached for the knife, feeling the icy grip of her fate tightening hopelessly around her. "Mommy!" The pleading voice echoed stronger than before, and she bolted toward those eyes, each step filled with uncertainty. Would she save him, or would the shadows entrap her forever in their dreadful embrace? The distance closed, but behind her, laughter rang out, dark and hollow, chasing her with twisted anticipation. Would she meet her child, or meet a fate worse than death? The eyes blinked, revealing sharp, elongated teeth, grinning wide. And as Jenna sprinted toward the promise of salvation, the ground quaked again, and from below, a deep voice growled, "It's not over yet." Jenna's heart hammered in her chest as she stumbled forward, drawn toward the glowing eyes that flickered like beacons through the suffocating fog. The world twisted around her, shadows swirling like a sinister ballet. Each step pushed her deeper into an abyss of terror, where the air pulsed with unseen malice. "Mommy!" Tyler's voice broke through the fog again, but it sounded closer now, more urgent. She surged forward, adrenaline propelling her onward. The glowing eyes flickered once more, narrowing into slits that seemed to absorb the light. Jenna's breath caught as she realized the eyes weren't just watching, they were calculating. "Stay away from him!" she shouted, the knife clutched fiercely in her trembling hand. The fog shifted, swirling aggressively around her ankles, trying to pull her back into its depths. She could almost feel the icy claws of the forest gripping her, dragging her toward despair. The laughter echoed around her once more, taunting, as if the very trees were mocking her struggle. "You think you can resist us?" A gravelly voice crooned, shrouded in the mist. "This place needs a mother's love, but it's hungry for souls." "No!" she screamed, but doubt echoed in her mind. How could she fight a forest that was alive? Her thoughts raced as visions of Tyler, his smiling face, the warmth of his hugs flashed in her memory. She could not let him slip away. "Mommy, I can't see." His cry cut through her, raw and exposed, the reality of her child's fear cutting her deep. Jenna pushed against the fear swelling inside her, the panic bubbling just beneath the surface. She would not become another shadow lost in this cursed forest. With newfound determination, she pressed onward. Each shadow ahead shifted, morphing from dark figures into the horrifying shapes of lost souls, trapped and miserable. They reached toward her with bony fingers, desperate for her warmth. Jenna felt their despair claw at her spirit, attempting to worm their way into her heart. But then, the laughter turned sharp, slicing through her determination. "You are a part of us now." The trees around her groaned as if in agreement, their branches shaking like the sighs of ancient spirits. Was it true? Was she becoming one of them? Desperation clawed at her throat. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted, feeling the heat of resistance fuel her movements. Every step was a battle, her resolve anchored on the one undeniable truth: she could not let the darkness take her son. As she neared the source of the eyes, Jenna forced herself to remember the reason she fought. Tyler's voice swirled in the thick air, a lifeline stretched across the yawning chasm of doubt. "I'm almost there, baby," she shouted, as she pushed through the swirling fog. The eyes widened, revealing more than just teeth now. A figure began to materialize, its body twisting like smoke, as though it could take any form it desired. It was a creature of nightmares, formed from pure shadow, yet there was a flicker of something human within. "Do you know what you're fighting against?" it hissed, a cruel smile stretching across its face. "You'll need more than love to save him." A shiver raced down Jenna's spine. The shadows writhed, closing in, whispering secrets that made her skin crawl. Suddenly, a feeble cry broke through, "Mommy!" It was weaker now, frail, fading. The fog thickened as Jenna's heart sank. "No!" Fear surged like ice water through her veins. She twirled around, adrenaline boiling within her, searching for any sign of her son. The shadows danced with delight, edging closer, feeding off her growing panic. "Join us or lose him forever," the creature taunted, its voice wrapping around her like chains. The forest trembled in anticipation, each sound vibrating through the earth. Jenna steeled her resolve, knife glinting in the dim light. "I will find you, Tyler," she pledged, ready to battle the terror that surrounded her. Yet, amidst her fear, something deeper stirred within Jenna, a chilling realization. The forest did not just crave despair, it thrived on the love of a mother, the very thing it sought to destroy. What did it truly want from her? As the shadows closed in, tugging at her sanity, a new voice whispered just to her left, softer yet more insistent. Help me. Could she trust it? Would this be another trap? Or could it be the key to saving Tyler? The fog swirled thicker, and Jenna plunged deeper into the heart of the nightmare, ready to confront whatever was waiting in the darkness ahead. The echoes of laughter behind her faded, but the chilling voice lingered. You can't escape your fate. What was the forest planning? Would she uncover the truth, or would she be consumed by the very shadows she fought against? Jenna's stomach twisted as she forced herself towards the source of the voice. Help me. It lured her with an urgency that rang out like a bell, yet the shadows seemed to squirm violently at her approach, as if recoiling from the very idea of her stepping closer to that plea. Is that you, Tyler? She shouted, her voice ricocheting through the fog, desperation squeezing every word. Please, the voice echoed, more pained now. The air crackled around her, narrowing down into a singular point of dread. She couldn't tell if it was a trick or a lifeline, but every fiber of her being screamed to move forward. As she took a cautious step, the ground below her squished like a wet sponge, and a chill clung to her skin, making her freeze in place. Dark tendrils crept up her legs, wrapping around her ankles as if the very earth was trying to hold her back. Stay with us, whispered the trees, their bark grating and gnarled, the hollow sounds like a chorus of lost souls. Let him go, she barked, brandishing the knife, its blade gleaming under a momentary fracture of moonlight that pierced through the shroud. The shadows flickered, their shapes undulating like flames. They seemed to pulse with energy, feeding off her fear. But just then, she heard it again. Help me. That voice, faint yet unmistakable, drove the adrenaline racing through her veins. Jenna gritted her teeth and fought against the tightening grip of the fog. She tore away the tendrils with fierce determination, each movement making her feel more like a hunted animal. You think you can fight back? The creature taunted, growing more corporeal with each word, its form twisting and solidifying like a storm cloud gathering strength. Love is a weakness, and you will pay dearly for it. With a fierce shout, Jenna lunged towards the last place she had heard Tyler. The trees loomed closer, their twisted branches almost reaching for her like the gnarled fingers of the damned. Mommy! His cry was feeble, echoing like a fading candle in a hurricane. Hold on, Tyler. I'm coming, she yelled, her heart racing. Any thought of fear was obliterated by the urgency to find her son. She could feel the fog clawing at her, dragging her back, but she pushed through. In that chilling moment, she stumbled into a small clearing dominated by gnarled roots that twisted out of the ground like skeletal hands grasping for the sky. And in the center, trapped within a swirl of shadows, Tyler's small form sat hunched over. His face was obscured, but the outline of his trembling shoulders sent a fresh wave of terror through Jenna. Tyler! She shouted, but the shadows flickered, absorbing her words. They twisted around the boy, tightening like a noose. The creature loomed behind him, stretching its shadowy form to envelop her son completely. You will give him to me, mother, it hissed, slithering closer, its voice oozing with sickening delight. No! Jenna screamed, raising her knife, heart pounding against her ribs like a frantic drum. Get away from him! Time slowed as she rushed forward, every instinct in her body screaming at her to fight, to protect her child. But the creature laughed, a chilling sound filled with malice. You think that knife can save him? Love isn't enough here. A heavy fog coiled tighter around her, and she felt her feet start to lift, lifted off the ground by the pull of the shadows. Her breath came in rapid gasps as she clawed against the abyss that yawned open beneath her. Hurry, Mommy! Tyler's voice was now barely a whisper, a flicker of light dimming before her eyes. "Tyler! I'm here!" Jenna cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. Desperation surged through her, fueling her fight against the darkness. She had to reach him, but just as she thought she was close enough, a sharp pain shot through her, rooting her to the spot as the shadow tightened around her chest. "Join us," it beckoned, its voice wrapping around her heart like a vice. "Your son is already ours in this web of chaos." A fragment of dread nipped at her consciousness. What if I surrender? She thought in horror. As the shadows whispered promises of peace and acceptance, Jenna faced the truth. What cost was she willing to pay to save her son? The dilemma swirled in her mind, twisting the knife deeper into her own heart as she opened her mouth to speak. What would she choose? Would it be love or surrender? The shadows shifted, eager for her answer, and she could feel the air grow thick with anticipation. Something dark loomed just beyond, ready to claim what it wanted. Would she make the ultimate sacrifice, or could she break free from the forest's grip before it was too late? A scream tore through Jenna's throat, but it was swallowed by the oppressive fog wrapping around her like a shroud. The shadows pulsed with malignant energy, and the darkness closed in tighter, their whispers now a cacophony that threatened to drown her. "What do you want?" she shouted, her voice strained. "Leave him alone." "You know what we want," the creature cooed, the words curling into her mind, like smoke penetrating a room. It could feel her tension, her despair, each moment drawing a thin line of hope tighter until it teetered on the edge of rupture. "He is alone, lost, in need." Tyler's not lost, he's. The words hung in the air, a lifeline of denial. Jenna's heart lurched. The shadows teased, dancing closer, wrapping their icy fingers around her wrists like a vice. "Join me," it hissed, a seductive whisper that gnawed away at her resolve. "Just let go, Jenna. You can be with him forever." The fog thickened, swirling like a storm, and her mind fought against the temptation creeping over her. She imagined Tyler's face, the way he clutched his toys, fearless and unblemished, yet there he sat now, clutched in terror. "Tyler!" She cried again, but the sound felt weak, powerless. She could feel his spirit flickering like a dying flame. "You have to hold on. Mommy." That voice cracked like porcelain, breaking Jenna's resolve. It echoed against the gnarled trees, mocking her strength. "End this struggle," the creature urged, growing impertinent, its form swirling around her. "Love is a fleeting distraction. Only acceptance can save him." Jenna clenched her jaw, trembling. She remembered the warmth of Tyler's laughter, his vibrant little smile. "I won't give up on him," she declared, forcing herself to stand tall even as the darkness leached at her soul. The knife trembled in her hand, but it was still a beacon, a sliver of hope against the encroaching miseries. "Very well," it snarled, venom lacing its words. "Let us see how long you can hold on." The fog erupted, crashing over her in waves of despair. She felt her knees buckle, an oppressive weight draped across her shoulders. "Tyler!" Her shout was a bomb, exploding in the silence. The shadows recoiled, momentarily stung, and she seized her chance. She plunged the knife into the ground, anchoring herself to the earth. She drew strength from the pain radiating from her palms, desperate to break free from the chains binding her to fear, but the force was relentless. She felt a surge of icy air wrapping around her throat, squeezing tighter. Panic clawed at her as her vision wavered. "No!" she gasped, fighting against the void that loomed ever closer. In that moment of suffocating terror, she saw a flicker in the shadows, a flash of Tyler's soft, cherubic face. "Mommy?" he whispered again, but this time it wasn't he drenched in fear. It was a call, a beckoning. Jenna's heart raced as she fought against the darkness. "I'm coming," she cried, thrusting the knife deep into the earth, feeling the pulse of life beneath the surface as if she could directly touch the bond that linked her to him. "Foolish mother!" The creature howled in rage, and the tendrils surged forward, angry snakes ready to strike. "Jenna, drawing the strength of a lioness, let the love for her son fill every crevice of her heart. "You can't take him," she bellowed, the words booming in the silence. "I choose him." This declaration sent shockwaves through the entity, distorting its shadowy form. It recoiled, a constellation of darkness flickering. But as hope ignited in Jenna's heart, Tyler's figure seemed to shift within the storm, and for a brief moment, they locked eyes, their connection flaring like a match against the dark. Suddenly, the grip of shadow loosened. But Jenna could sense the creature regaining its fury, readying its next move. "Very well," it hissed, rage twisting its voice into a guttural growl. "Then we'll play a different game." Jenna's heart thundered fiercely as the fog shifted, revealing a path lined with twisted roots and ominous silhouettes closing in. "What do you mean?" she whispered, fear crawling beneath her skin once more. The answer loomed like a fearsome shadow waiting to envelop her, but the forest remained silent, shrouded in anticipation. What new nightmare had she invited? The air thickened with dread as she stepped forward, the chilling realization catching up like a sage's whisper. She hadn't yet seen the depths of its cruelty. The darkness had reached its peak, swirling around Jenna like a storm eager to consume her whole. But as she stood firm, a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. The whispers lifted slightly, allowing a glimpse of clarity amidst the chaos. It was Tyler's voice, gentle and clear. "I believe in you, Mommy." With those words echoing in her heart, Jenna knew she had to confront the creature, confront the root of this nightmare plaguing her and her son. Fear twisted in her gut, but she clawed at it, refusing to let go. "I choose love. I choose him," she shouted, her voice breaking through the fog, each syllable resonating with determination. The shadows wavered, flickering their grotesque forms as if her words had cast light into their gloom. The figure before her twisted angrily, its features contorting in rage. "You think your pathetic love can save him? Watch what your foolishness brings." With a swipe of its spindly arm, the ground beneath Tyler shifted and cracked, a gaping maw opening wide to consume him. Jenna stumbled forward, heart racing, every instinct screaming to protect her son. "Tyler!" she wailed, lunging as her legs propelled her with fierce urgency. She felt the pull of the abyss behind her, cold and seductive, but it was nothing compared to the warmth of her son's spirit. The knife, her anchor, was still in her hand, reminding her of everything she fought for. "No!" she roared as she dove, gripping Tyler's hand as she reached him. The shadows screamed and recoiled at her movement, twisting with fury. Despite the chaos, Tyler's face appeared brighter in that moment, life coursing back through him, reminding her of everything vivacious and pure. "Mommy!" he cried out, his voice breaking through the storm. The shadows wailed, anguish rising, and Jenna felt a new strength surge from somewhere deep within. "I won't let you take him," she yelled defiantly, drawing the knife high, determined to strike against the creature that had taken so much from her already. With a swing of her arm, she plunged the blade deep into the ground at her feet, looking straight into the shadows. "I anchor my love here. You can't take what is ours." The knife pierced the earth, and suddenly the air crackled with energy, the ground trembling as roots erupted around them, pulsing with a vibrant light. A protective barrier formed, pushing back against the dark tendrils inching toward them. Jenna's heart raced to the rhythm of the pounding earth, the power of love emitting from her being encapsulating them both. The shadows shrieked and writhed, battering against the barrier as it glowed with energy. Jenna held on to Tyler, feeling his warmth envelop her, filling the hollow spaces of fear with hope. The last tendrils of despair retreated, hissing at her defiance, for she had uncovered the truth. The shadows were born from the pain of loneliness, of a desperate longing for connection and acceptance. "I won't abandon you, Tyler. We're strong together," she shouted, and at those words, the barrier brightened, forming a protective cocoon around them both. In a final crescendo, the shadows surged one last time but were met with the radiant light of love, bursting forth from the roots and enveloping the entire clearing. Jenna grasped Tyler's hand even tighter, feeling the energy flow through them like an electric current. They were not just fighting against darkness, they were illuminating the very shackles that had held them captive. The wall of light surged outward, and in that brilliant flash, Jenna felt a shift within the fog, the malevolence of the forest finally retreating. As the shadows shrank back, twisting and howling in defeat, Jenna cried out in unwavering strength, "You lose." Together, they stepped through the veil of the barrier, and as they emerged back into the familiar surroundings of home, the darkness around them faded into the thin air. She gasped, the world sparkling bright against the dawn. Tyler's laughter rang clear as he turned to her, joy stretching across his small face. "Mommy, we did it." He beamed, joy bursting in his eyes, and Jenna felt her heart swell with relief. They were free, the oppressive weight lifted, and with a final glance at the fading shadows retreating into the forest, Jenna knew they were safe. As they walked back toward their home, the sun breaking the horizon, her heart was steadfast, filled with the unmistakable bond of a mother's love. "Together forever, right?" she asked Tyler, feeling the warmth of his small hand in hers. "Forever." He grinned, and they ventured inside, welcoming a new beginning, a new chapter ringing with laughter and hope no longer overshadowed by the fear that once consumed them, and just like that, Jenna realized love was the greatest force they could possess. They, too, had broken through the shadows for good. Now it's your turn. If you love these stories, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive tales that will keep your heart racing. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the story's ending because we want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this mind-blowing conclusion. You're a true fan for supporting our channel. Let us spread the love.